One notion is to look at all the videos I've ever made, everything I've ever said, and everything I've ever written, and organize it all. Find somebody who wants to help me with that, probably somebody who thinks I'm interesting and useful, and then recreate it all. Edit it together. Edit together all the texts. The text is actually pretty important because there's a lot of ideas in there, and it shows we could take boxes of papers and try and figure out what date they were, what timing they were, if it matters. Set up a chronology, and more importantly, start to turn them all into text. Well-edited text with references, a lot of references to other materials, and then make videos that were actually well produced, that state those things, whether they're interviews or just talking head, because that's all I can offer. Some people have said I should write a book. Well, I've got, like 5 books I could write. And, there's a certain, I think, outdated notion that authors have greater value than other people because there's something, but I don't agree with that anymore. I could write a book just, as part of my resume. And there's actually a couple books I would like to do, or a couple things I would like to do that are anonymous. It's very hard to be anonymous online. Get out of my way. Puppies have to learn not to be under my feet. The cute little puppies. See the cute little puppies? Hi, the cute little puppies. You guys are cuties. Yeah. We're going to walk to town. And because theoretically I have value. Not inherent value. It's pretty obvious in the world that people don't have any inherent value. People die all the time. Nobody gives a fuck about people. Anyway, so I could, with the right people, probably more than one, we could index and organize and everything I've ever thought. Because some of the ideas I've come to now, after being here in the forest since 2004, it's been almost 19 years. Some of the things I'm coming up with as solutions for the world are pretty hardcore, and they're pretty hard to understand, and they shouldn't really be said. I would have to trust any team of people helping me organize everything I've ever thought. Of course, there might be a temptation to jump ahead and focus on the conclusions, and I think that is true for some of them. The ones that can be said publicly, the ones that can be shared. Because there's some. What time is it? 8:15. I have a little bit of time to get to town and back. I'm going to buy some beer. Haven't been drinking for a little bit. And I like some beers. My other goal is to set up Starlink today so that I can get a stable internet connection. That would also allow me to work with people remotely. But a lot of this work, in terms of the papers, has to be done locally. So I'd have to divide the work up. I was thinking about this because there was a guy who seems really cool. And he's focused on permaculture and hydrology, and he has his webpage and everything. He's he seems Mexican. I don't know where he's from. But he speaks Spanish and everything, and most of his programs are here. And I was a little bit jealous. I was like, geez, I think of all this cool stuff, doing all this cool stuff. And I realized that isn't my sole focus. It doesn't even matter to me almost. It's just one piece of the puzzle. And I'm really trying to do what only I can do. That's my goal. Like right now I'm paying someone, they're going to show up at 9:15 or so, to come and help me clean up my spaces. Because my life's falling apart and I'm just in terrible shape. And feeling pretty bad about myself in a lot of ways. And I was thinking, why am I not cleaning up those spaces? It's because I don't think that's my highest value. I don't think that's the best thing I can do. And it's a bad thing to do, it's necessary. I found her Facebook page and she says she's a domestic helper or something. And she sure as hell is. She's amazing at her job. I'm paying her 20% more than I would pay for a strong laborer to do hard manual work all day. And here the minimum wage is ridiculously low. It's like a fifth of what I'm paying her. And so I'm way overpaying her. But I'm doing it because she's so good at what she's doing and because I suck at it and don't want to do it. And so I look at this guy who's doing this part of what I really want to do, and I'm a little jealous because it's cool. And I'm looking at this woman who is excellent at her job. She barely asks me questions, which I don't have to manage her, and that's huge for me. I don't want to lose my whole day. I don't want to join in on the cleaning. I mean, I help out. I tried to stab a mouse yesterday, and actually put out poison yesterday too, and the rats took it in the lodge. So I don't like poison. There's issues. But anyway, back to me and figure out what I am and what my value is I have a very unique perspective because of how I was raised, and then everything I did since then, from a very young age. And so, as far as writing books go, I don't want to. The only reason I would do it almost is to either be more anonymous, harder to find, although there's ways to publish online anonymously, or make money. But that isn't even my goal. I mean, I want to survive. I'm desperate. But I want to give information away if it's useful information. Now, I can certainly understand if you're writing books for entertainment, they're novels and stuff, that you want to benefit from that, and it's a different kind of experience. But I am trying to save the fucking world. And I say that without thinking it's hyperbole. I believe that the ideas I have, the combination of ideas, the way I connect them up, can actually have an impact on reducing collapse or speeding some survival, some restoration of human civilization. And that's kind of a big goal. But I have the pieces. And I didn't have the pieces before. I had lots of interesting thoughts, but spending this time alone in the forest so long and with other people, both have been useful. Watching a forest grow, changing the forest in very gentle ways, not even as hardcore as most permaculture is. Although there's a few things I'd like to do, like make lakes, that requires bulldozers and things. And so this long time in the forest, this long exposure, and then breaking my legs was useful, I guess. Not advisable, but very useful. And then living on donations or dying on donations, and it's been very educational. As well as, of course, my continued awareness and research on just how corruption works in the world and how everything's a huge mess. So that is one idea, is to try and sell that. This video could be part of that, as an idea that I would like a team that really likes what I'm doing, not doing it for the money since I don't have any, although I could get somebody on the team to be raising money, fix up my website, and create a Brian that's online, create my content in a way that is useful, and then I would have more self-worth, I think. I would have a feeling of self-worth, and I would actually have real worth for the world. Because right now, I have scattered mix of answers and opinions and ideas, but if those were cataloged, and organized, it would change the world. And so if I gathered people who, for the passion of it, for, a year, 6 months at minimum probably, could do that, setting aside some information that is too dangerous. There's a lot of it, things that shouldn't be said, and I don't want to get killed yet, because people get really pissed off if you say anything other than exactly what they think, outside their religion, outside their views. They feel very threatened by any other views than theirs, which is one of the problems I'd like to reduce as well. That's a team I need to look for. Brian superfans. People have faith in me. I don't have to agree with everything I think. I don't even agree with everything I think. That is not the point. But I think I should recruit for that. And so there'd be tasks that were remote. Some people could be remote, like organizing Quora answers, advising me on which ones to take down. I did download my Quora content, which does not include comments, unfortunately, so I have no control over those. And I have a whole bunch of pictures online that could be made public domain. Anything that doesn't have a person in it, since I don't have rights to that. But why not make almost all my pictures, tens of thousands of pictures, publicly open for use? If people want to use them, they use them, if they're worth it. So somebody has to go through tens of thousands of pictures and just sit there marking them that they're now public domain, and then recording in a spreadsheet that they went through this part and we've checked that. I do have peripheral projects I'd also like to work on, besides just documenting what I've already said, of putting into implementation some of the ideas that I have. I'll give you one example, since people like music. I'm not a big, huge fan, really. But there's a lot of out-of-copyright music, and I have issues about copyright as well, and how that's handled. That's just terrible how it's handled. But we could take all this out-of-copyright music, find pages that already index it. Those already exist. We don't need to recreate the wheel. What we can do is select those, analyze those for their lyrics and whether we like the message of them at all, whether they have value to us, the lyrics and then the music itself. In many cases, the performance is not public. It is not public domain, but the actual work is, because over time more and more things become public domain. And then suggest that anyone in the world from this body of work could make recreations of these, and that we could then have an index of those. Pretty easy to do. I mean, that's really easy. And we don't even have to index it. People can just say, this is a recreation of this music. So we can just suggest it. The leadership we have to have can just be suggesting a good idea. And this is true for many of the other ideas I have where I can't personally do them. I don't care if I personally control it. I don't care if I benefit from it financially. But I get kind of a gold star if I can propose it. If I can propose the ideal composting toilet. I just watched a long video on composting toilets, and it included the Bill Gates project, which was cool. Many of those toilets are way too complex. They're silly by my standards. But this guy presented that in 2018 or something, he has this idea of using earthworms to process human shit. I've been doing that for 13 years, at least, and using dung beetles. In other words, I have the toilet solution, but I don't present myself in an organized, sane enough way. I don't present my ideas well enough to say, hey, look, this is the solution for many places. Not everywhere, but there's one guy, he was doing it for a 300-person apartment building. And a lot of people will say, oh, you can't, it won't scale. You can't do composting toilets at scale. Bullshit. It should be extremely rare that we ever shit in water. That's just colossally dumb. It's a bad design. And there's hundreds of other things like that where all I have to do is do a good job at writing it up. Architecturally, same thing. I need to work with architects, and they don't have to be on site. Now, for the works I've done on paper, if I care about that, which I do actually, I have old poetry. I might as well stick it all online. Just get all of Brian online. Give myself to the world. Don't publish a book of them. Just give them away. I don't know if they have any value, but the way I have of thinking has value. The way I have of thinking about society. I'm not a great engineer, so I need help with that to fix up some ideas. Architecture in particular. I was thinking, I was trying to do the spreadsheet on heat levels, and then the heat below the earth for geothermal, and then the heat of the sun in a particular climate, and when the sun comes, and then direction of buildings and thermal mass and all this crap. And I don't have the engineering background to do the math on it. And if I had an engineer sitting next to me, or virtually, they could just say, well, this is obviously that. And then we can publish that. And then other engineers can say, well, it's kind of that, but except for this, or there's this other idea. In other words, putting myself out there to give to the world. Because I don't care about anything else. Everybody else cares about making money, or their kids, or protecting their identity and their society and their nation or whatever, and I just don't give a shit about any of that. And that puts me in a unique position where the only value I have to the world is really to offer myself, every idea I've ever had. And so if there's people that want to be part of that team with me, they'd have to be people I like a lot, and they don't piss me off, and that they can bring things up, but I also don't want to go through every idea I've ever had and argue about every one of them with somebody. So mainly I want to get them down, and then the arguments can happen later. Because I don't think I have a magic solution. God doesn't talk to me. There's no God anyway. Everything I think is just a bunch of thoughts, but I'm realizing from people that know me well and have been supporters, or nice notes I get, or positive feedback, is that I have really good ideas. And a lot of other people have really stupid ideas about my ideas, and they say they're not possible. Like, I wrote about colony raising rabbits in a way that could solve meat problems in the world. I can solve the world's meat problem. And it does involve eating a lot less meat for some people. And it would be better for all kinds of reasons. So that's another thing I got to write up and then implement as well. I do have a space. I have a lot of land. And of course, ideas are not good unless you can actually prove they work. I can't believe I'm taking 4 puppies to town. This is just ridiculous. Out of control. All right, well, I'm beating my worker, my helper. She's just amazing. So I should make an application for helping me out on that. That application needs to have on it, can you keep your fucking mouth shut? And because some of the stuff that I think can't be said. And I want some people on site. And then some of the things could get started right away. I guess if I fix up my webpage real quick, some of the projects, all I have to do is propose them. I have 3 application ideas that I would like to get going right away. And the truth is, I don't have to make them. All I have to do is write the spec. And have the spec be in probably a wiki format so it can get adjusted. And it can get copied. And I don't need to own the software. I don't want it to be owned. I want there to be multiple versions of it. I want them to compete. I don't care who ends up owning the market. The apps are fairly different ideas. And so they require different skill sets. And we don't have to be in the same place. Although one of the app ideas is making a virtual Bosque, but generalizing that, well, there's 2 issues there. Generalizing the tool so that so that we have an app for food forest farming that would absolutely revolutionize the world. We could re-landscape the world with this application. I swear it. It would show us what to do in climates all over the world. Some would be more difficult than others. But I would start with my laboratory. I have a laboratory where I can improve my composting toilets, and I can get microscopes and bring in grad students and things, and we can count up what kind of diseases last through what processes. And because I watched this video on composting toilets, and I was just amazed that they keep overbuilding it, even though I agreed with like 90% of it, but they're missing the point. I mean, nobody even mentioned thermophilic bacteria, which is the solution. I mean, the earthworms are cool too. Very important. But, there's a few parts of it I don't know, but I haven't shit in water for 12 years. I don't know how long ago it was. I can't remember. It just doesn't happen. The isolation I've been through has been very useful, totally painful. But even that, for things I think about gender issues and sex and things like that, it's been useful. Because I've removed myself from a lot of distractions in the world, and it's allowed me to see differently. Now, reattaching those bizarre ideas to the actual world may be somewhat difficult. But the point is that I can't do it. And that's the hardest thing I think that I've come to as a realization, that the leg breaking thing was helpful with that, is I simply cannot do what I want to do. And I can't just find people who say that they want to do stuff, because most of them are fuckwads who want to take control and do other shit and use me and fuck me over. And so I have to think like a hiring manager and have a really strong filter and consider thousands of people and pick 6. 3 for the parts I'm talking about. I don't know. But that's why I need a geek too on site. Today I'm setting up Starlink, so I have to see how hard that is. It probably will be very easy, actually. There's videos on it and all that. So if you finish this video and you think you might be a person who would want to work with a semi-insane person online or in person, because I have a great space to be, but if you're in person, then I'm hardcore. I'm hardcore to live with. And, it's not just come play at the Bosque and fuck around. No, it's actual work every day. Some fun. I used to be a fun guy. I like fun. I want to have fun again. And having people again would be fun, but they've got to be the right people. I don't want to invite people into my life to struggle. I would rather be alone. And so if you think you're a person that isn't scared off by that, that might even sound good, and you don't have to be a perfect person, but you have to be able to work well with me, and I guess I'm probably a difficult person in some sense. I didn't used to think that, I've managed teams, and I'm very empathetic, and I do care about other people's feelings and needs a lot. Too much. That's one of the reasons I've screwed myself over. Also, if I had other people around, I'd probably walk around more, because I'm so lonely in these years that I'm always on my computer, because that's the only semblance of human contact I have, which is a very horrible form of human contact, because people are so negative online. It is unbelievable to me. I mean, I've seen it since 1985. That's when I first got online, although I was on BBSs before that. But, with Usenet and the very early internet before the web. And people were still pretty nice then, but it was a different quality of people. And unfortunately, as everyone's gotten online, we've realized that instead of being happy hippies and all getting to know each other and enjoying the wonderful diversity of thought and exploring culture and everything, instead we found that people fucking hate each other. And that we're now being manipulated online by people that want to encourage that hate they benefit from it. They profit from our conflict, and they use it to control us. They'll even create conflict where there is none. So nice people are getting fucked over with the internet. It sucks. So anyone I had on site, it would be a joy for me if they could make it through my filters, and if I was acceptable to them as well, of course. I'm not acceptable to most people. That is okay, no problem. No need to tell me what a fucked up person I am. I already know. I can tell myself that better than you can. But if you really think that, if you really think that you're that kind of person that wants to work on that for, I'd say, 6 months minimum, I might even set up an annual cycle, then let me know. And we can raise money to make sure that you don't lose money doing it, at least, and that you have a good time and it's comfortable. Because my life right now is uncomfortable, and it's not fun. It's not living the way I want to live. So that has to change, and that's going to require resources. And so fundraising is part of that. So part of it's research, library type stuff, organization, some web development, and then somebody's got to cook some food that's better than what I cook, because you don't want to eat what I eat. I guarantee it. And if you can have, some social rules you can follow that we don't damage my local reputation, and that we live a certain lifestyle that is, by most people's standards, somewhat austere and boring. Although, if you get to hang out with the right people, if they're really amazing people, that is a joy. Since most of us are stuck with people we don't want to be with. And so yeah, I suppose I have to make a form to have people fill out to do that. Of course, if I make a form that says who I am and what I want people to be, then they'll just lie and say what they think I want to hear, and that doesn't filter them well, which means I have to make an anonymous form. But then I don't get to use myself and say, hey, this is why I'm interesting. This is why I have some value, I think. I think I can kind of do both. I guess I have to take both paths. There's no reason to pick one or the other. But I have to be very careful about having people manipulate me. I've had bad experiences, and I don't want to have them ever again. And even though I'm lonely and would like women in my life, I've had 2 very bad experiences with that in my whole life, which is not that bad. But they hurt me bad. And I'm a really sensitive person at heart. And, yeah. So anyway, let me know. I guess if you saw this, then you're not looking at the anonymous form. Maybe if you make it through the anonymous form, you see this and you decide, that guy's nuts, I don't want to be involved. That's fine too. I really don't care. Anyway, I hope that whatever you do in your life, that you are part of the team, the bigger team of building a better, freer world, taking care of the planet, the soil, the earth, changing our entire culture and civilization so that we're not destroying everything. Because we are all going to die if we don't change it. That's the process we're in, and certainly we're already in the process where most people are suffering. Whether they're rich or poor, they're stuck. It's a very, very bad thing. I'm in town now. I'm going to walk through this gate, get my beers, walk back to the Bosque, wait for my person that's going to come help me, and then I'm going to hook up to the satellite gods and get enough internet so that I can actually have other people here and be online. Adios. Jesus, was I just not recording? Oh no,